Hello, my name is Peter, and welcome to another video about the sailing vessel Silverheels, my Rhodes 22. Today is April 7th, 2017, which means that sailing season is rapidly approaching, which is a good thing. But there are several projects that I want to get done on the boat before we launch. These fall into the general subject areas of electrical wiring, storage in general on the boat, storage and management of fresh water, and a reconfiguration of the galley. Initially, I thought that I would try to do one video per subject area, a video on, say, the electrical work. But all of this work, or the vast majority of it, is going to take place inside the small cabin on the Rhodes 22, which means from a physical perspective, it overlaps significantly. And I just couldn't figure out any way logistically to break it all out. So instead, we're just going to go through the process in a linear fashion, and we'll film events as they unfold. And we'll break this up into a series of videos to keep the length of each one reasonable. So I live in Connecticut, and the winters in Connecticut do not lend themselves to working on a boat that's stored outside, as mine was. It's both too cold and just too sloppy to be getting on and off the boat on a regular basis. So we haven't made much progress in the work on the boat itself over the course of the winter, but fortunately some of the work I was able to do here in the workshop, and you're looking at a large part of that, which is the new galley. My primary objective for most of these projects is to make the Rhodes 22 a little bit better suited for longer term cruising, up to, say, a week or so. And one of the areas where I thought I could improve things in that aspect was with the icebox. The icebox that comes with most Rhodes 22s is an RV style icebox in this area. Kind of looks like a little refrigerator with a front door that opens, a full-size door. And that has about an inch of insulation on all sides. And in my experience, it'll hold ice for 2 to 3 days. So to try to improve on that, I've constructed an icebox that's behind this panel that has 2 inches of insulation on each sides and is accessed through the top rather than the front, which hopefully will improve things because all the cold air doesn't spill out when you open the door, and plus the opening size is significantly smaller. So I can take the lid off here and give you a look at the inside. So there really isn't a great deal to be seen here. The main construction materials are fiberglass and epoxy resin, and the resin was tinted white, as you can see. There's a divider in the middle and a drain on one side, and someplace I've got a plug for that drain that it'll screw in, but I've misplaced it at the moment. The total volume in here is roughly the same as the previous icebox. So below the icebox, we've got a couple of larger drawers, and then a bank of smaller drawers to the side. These drawers are 6 inches inside dimension, side to side, which makes them work nicely with these inserts that we found at the Container Store. The depth, front to back, on the drawers is mainly constrained by the shape of the hull. So there's more room here on the top. The drawers are a little deeper, and they get a little narrower going down until actually we run into a situation here where we're constrained by the plumbing for the drain for the icebox. So they're quite a bit shorter down here, and then again at the bottom it's the hull constraint. So all of the drawers have these little stoppers so that if we're on a starboard tack and heeling to port, the drawers won't fly open. We'll probably have a little overkill here on the stops, but it's symmetrical that way, so it's very important. And finally, we have a cabinet door that gives us access to the area under the sink. And we have specific plans for this area, which we'll cover in a later video. So another change we've made in this area is to the area where the breaker panel goes. Initially, the breaker panel and the cigarette lighter style plug were mounted directly to this sheet of starboard, which means the only way you could get access behind the panel was to take the screws out and remove the breaker panel and then try to kind of tease it out, which you could do a little bit, but the wires behind it were not all that long. And even after you got it off and disconnected, you still didn't have all that great access back there. So what I did was make a much larger hole in the starboard and then make these wooden panels to cover that. And then put that on a hinge so that you get better access to the back of the breaker panel and the other components here, and much better access to the area behind the partition here. And there really is a fair amount of space back there. I've moved the Galley upper shelf unit down so we can get a better look at the new electrical arrangements. So in addition to the breaker panel and the cigarette lighter style outlet that came from the original installation, I've added a pair of USB plugs, always handy, and a battery monitor. I'll probably touch on a few aspects of the installation of the battery monitor, but any discussion of how it actually works and how useful it is will have to wait until I have some experience with it. So anyway, if we release the latch and open this up, you can see we get really good access to the back sides of the items installed on the hinged panel, and we also get access to the area behind the panel. The actual shelf continues to run under this area, which gives us some places where we can mount some electrical components, so that's all good. I've got a little piece of wood here that's simulating. There's a piece of starboard that's still attached to the boat that goes there, but I wanted to simulate the actual space available in here. We'll briefly trace this through. We've got a two-terminal positive bus here, and this is where the main positive battery connection is going to be made. And then that will run into the positive side of the breaker panel. And then the individual wires, positive wires out of the breaker panel will run to this positive terminal block. There's actually two terminal blocks in there. And then further from there, all of the positive leads to the various lights and instruments and whatnot will lead from the terminal block. And then the negative wires from those items will come back to this negative bus, which I elevated to give me a little more working room. And then the negative connection back to the batteries will also come off this negative bus. So we've already got a few items that are wired here. We've got the wires for the USB outlets and the cigarette lighter plug. The positives here, the negatives back here. And for the VHF radio, the mounted one, and the charger for base for the handheld one are also wired, and positives are down here running under the negative bus, and then the negative wires from those are again here on the negative bus. So I'm pretty sure that this arrangement is going to obviously be much more accessible and maintainable than what was here initially. So I think that's going to do it for this video. That's about all I can show you here in the shop. So we'll move on in the next video out to the boat as weather permits. Thanks for watching.